Hey everyone, how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm so excited to talk to you about the box of makeup sitting in front of me today. This is all of the best stuff that I tried this year. So I like to do a favorites video every year because I have so much fun looking back on my previous year's favorites. I think it's such an interesting snapshot of what I was interested in at the time, and also to see what things stay, what things endure as favorites. I will be including a few things that I discovered at the very end of 2021, but otherwise this is all stuff I tried for the very first time in 2022. That does not mean these are necessarily new releases. I am often behind on new releases. Oh, there's a fuzzy floating through the air. I tend to try things after I have seen some reviews on them. Sometimes I'll grab things that are brand new, but I'm often trying older releases. Today's tea of the day is just a plain old Earl Grey tea. I was out, so I went to the store to buy my usual Tazo or Bigelow Earl Grey. Everyone else must have been in the mood for Earl Grey. There was no name brand Earl Grey left. I had to buy the grocery store brand, which is the Food Club brand, and it's actually really good. I'm very surprised. I would recommend it. Now, I do not have a favorite in every category, but I will try and go through in relative order of things that go on your face. So, starting with foundation. My number one foundation of the year is the Yensa Skin on Skin BC foundation. This is not mentioned very often. I think the only person I've ever seen mention it on YouTube is Lauren from Lauren May Beauty. If you've ever tried the Misha BB cream, and you love it, but you wish that your shade wasn't so gray toned, this is just like the Misha in terms of the way that it immediately looks like my skin, but with a more glowy finish. I don't ever see foundation sitting on top of my skin with this one. It does have pretty full coverage, so I can switch it around. Well, I mean, full coverage for me. It does say full coverage on it. I don't typically try full coverage foundations, but for what I usually try, I would call it full coverage. I can easily, though, make it less coverage just by using less product, but this is one of those products that I can count on. It doesn't matter if my skin is dry or oily, or if I'm having a really bad breakout, this always works for me. And in fact, often my skin looks better when I wash it off, in the sense that it helped my skin throughout the day. It does have SPF 40 in it, so that's another reason I really like it. I would recommend it. It can be a little spendy, but they do have sales. And this is one of those products that I don't have to use very much to accomplish the look that I want. I am wearing it today. I absolutely adore how this looks on my skin. I wear the shade light neutral, and I do really like how it comes with a pump as well. And one pump is more than sufficient for my face. I did have a concealer favorite this year. I didn't think I was going to, and this product snuck up on me when I first tried it. I was like, it's okay. This is a viral product. This is the Kosas concealer, and I feel kind of funny putting it in this video just because I feel like it was in so many people's favorite videos last year. Well, I finally tried it this year. When I first tried it, I didn't really care for it that much. Now I have figured out how I like to wear it, and I really love it. It's beautiful. When I put this on, I have to use a damp sponge. I find if I use my fingers or a brush, I can see it sitting on top of my skin. So it's not my favorite then, but when I blend it in with a damp sponge, it becomes one with my skin. I don't see it sitting on top of my skin at all. It's perfectly blended in, and this shade that I have, 2.5C, is a really, really good match for me. The texture is kind of gel-like, so it feels kind of cooling when I swipe it on. I really enjoyed the process of putting on this concealer, which I have come more and more to appreciate about certain makeup products. And we always want a good end result, but sometimes the process of putting it on really makes a difference in the enjoyment of the product, and this is one of those. I really enjoy putting it on. This is very unusual, however, to be in my favorites, because as much as I enjoy it, I'm probably not going to repurchase it, because Kosas is what they call a clean beauty brand. It just means they don't have preservatives really in there. So this will go off very quickly, which means that at the moment I'm not buying other concealers. I'm like frantically trying to finish this one up to get my money's worth out of it. That is the only thing about this concealer. So if you're a person who only wants one concealer in your collection at a time, I feel like this would be a really good option to at least try. I wouldn't mind having a few options. I'll finish it up and I won't repurchase, but which is really weird to say in the favorites video, because I really do like this. Love this. Anyway, moving on. I have one bronzer favorite for the year, and it is the Makeup by Mario Softsculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade Light. I am wearing it today. Oh, and it just reminded me so much of why I like this. So it is a very sheer, balmy product. It's something that when you blend it on your skin, you are not going to have any lines with very little effort. I mean, you can accomplish like no lines with other products as well, but this one just immediately blends in so well. I don't ever have to worry about the weird bronzer line on my forehead with this product, which I really appreciate. And since it is so sheer and buildable, I don't have to be super careful with placement just because it will blend out so easily. Like often when putting bronzer here, I tend to be very careful because I don't want it going down too far and making my cheeks a weird shape or kind of getting muddy looking. This one, the way it blends, it makes me so happy. It is a more glowy product, so if you have very oily skin, this may not be your favorite. It's very natural looking. I love it. Before we get into blush, because I have a lot of blush to mention, let's talk about highlighters. So I have two formulas that I would love to talk to you about. So Merit, for one thing. So I have two shades in the Merit Highlighting Balm. The first shade I tried is the shade Cava. So this is a very melty formula. It feels almost like the word greasy sounds bad, but just in the way that this is very melty and kind of oily feeling, I guess someone could give that word to it, but it is a very sheer, again, formula, so it doesn't have a lot of base pigment to it. What it does is it just gives you the ultimate skincare glow. Oh my goodness, just look. The shade Cava is kind of like the champagne shade. And this one, obviously, I've used it a lot this year. I focused on it for quite a while in my project pan because I loved it so much. Later this year, I also tried the shade Citrine, which the way I like to apply it is I like to melt it a little bit on my finger first and then apply it that way instead of just going straight on my face. The shade Citrine has a little bit more of a peachy tone to it, which just means it matches my skin tone very well, and I might even like it more than Cava. No glitter, nothing metallic, just dewy skin goodness. I don't find it to be sticky, my hair doesn't stick to it. And to be clear, these were sent to me in PR, which is so strange coming out of my mouth. I have just a very small channel. Merit was the first brand to reach out and send me PR. I was so very grateful, and out of all the things that I tried, oh, it's really hard to tell because I have one more Merit product coming up. But it's between these two products, anyway, for my favorite. Okay, something that was a major surprise. This was not even really on my radar, but I tried this highlighter duo from Laura Geller. This is the Baked Original Highlighter Duo. The shades in this duo are French Poodle and French Almond. French Almond is kind of really close to my skin tone, so I actually don't really wear it that much just because I don't know, it doesn't really do a whole lot. If I was a little bit more tan, I feel like I could use this shade. But the one that I'm specifically mentioning in this favorites video is French Poodle. I am wearing it on my skin today, and it creates a mattified glow, which is so cool to see happen if you're someone that's wearing a lot of glowy skincare anyway, or if you're wearing kind of a glowy base and you still want to wear highlighter, but it can be a bit much when you're wearing a lot of glowy things. It's interesting, it mattifies, and yet at the same time it still highlights. This formula is a little bit powdery, which doesn't bother me. That's kind of a heavy swatch, so you can see it on my finger, but when you put it on your skin, it's kind of hard to see there, isn't it? I'm going to try and get it so you can see. It has got to be one of the most beautiful, low intensity powder highlighters I have ever seen. Zero glitter, zero anything metallic. I think that if someone with more mature skin wanted to wear a powder highlight, this could be the one that I would recommend. Or if you just like a low-key highlight, this one. And I've got to be honest, the shade French Poodle accomplishes for me what I was hoping the Phytosurgence highlight would accomplish for me. They kind of look the same on my skin, but I can get the same effect much faster with the Laura Geller duo. And no hate towards Phytosurgence because I do have a product from them coming up in this video, but that's just something I wanted to mention. If you've always been drawn to the Phytosurgence one, but all the buffing required to get the effect, it's not really your thing. This does the same thing. Shall we talk about blush? Since I did mention Phytosurgence, let me talk about my favorite thing that I tried from Phytosurgence this year. So this year I did try their range of products. I obviously haven't tried every color of everything, but I tried their range of makeup products, not all their skincare. And I think this is my favorite thing that I have tried from them, and I really enjoy it. So in their Skin Spark blush formula, I have the shade Inferno. This is a super unique formula. You can see how it just looks, you know, different than your typical blush. When you put your finger into it, it melts, and it reminds me, it's like melted chocolate, essentially. That's exactly what it feels like. It is very very pigmented. When I use it, I don't even like go through and fully swatch. I just kind of put my finger in, dab it on my cheek, and then I blend it out with their fluff brush. Their Sky Fluff, which is really, really nice for blending out cream blush. This shade Inferno is a gorgeous brick red, and it blends out to a beautiful soft matte, which makes it very unique in my collection because I often go for kind of more, I don't know, nude or pinky blushes, but look at how beautiful that is when blended out. Isn't that gorgeous? It's a beautiful fall, winter, and summer blush to get the cold girl look, the sunburned look, a roasty toasty look that I just love so much. I've been wearing it a lot this time of year and I love it. I tried stuff from M Cosmetics this year. I've tried several things from them and I knew I had to mention one of their blushes because I love all their blush formulas, and it took me a little bit to narrow down, I think, which one is my favorite formula, but I think it's this one. This is their stick blush. This is called their So Soft formula. I have the shade Pearl Tea. This is another roasty toasty blush. But the name of the blush pretty much describes this blush perfectly. It is a very soft, blendable, matte formula. This is super, super quick to apply. And again, it's one of those where it's like a delight to apply because the texture is so lovely. M Cosmetics really knows blush. They really, really do. Sticking with the roasty toasty family, this year I tried Undone Beauty, and I tried a lot of products from them. I didn't try their full range, but I did try quite a few things. I was really interested in the brand because I felt like it was kind of like a affordable Glossier type brand. They're kind of like a minimalist makeup brand. And this is the lip to cheek palette, and I have the shade Rosewood, which they have so many beautiful colors. It was difficult to choose a shade, but I'm really, really happy I went with this one. So this is an interesting concept. The very top part of this, you can see it's kind of like cut into 3 different layers here. This first top part is sheer, or the middle part is medium coverage, and the bottom one is the most full opaque part of the blush. I have before just swirled it all together and just used it that way. Other times I have gone for just one particular section. I will show you the sheer part, which isn't really that sheer. It's still pretty pigmented, but that's the shade Rosewood. It is a very balmy formula, and even though it is that balmy formula, I don't find it to be too glowy on my skin, but it does melt in beautifully. I used this so much this year. Let's talk about another blush in a pan. So from Tower 28, I finally tried one of their blushes. I have the shade Magic Hour. This is one of those blushes that when I put it on my face, I'm every single time like, okay, this is a shade I could wear every single day. It's very, very flattering for my skin tone and my undertone. So that is what Magic Hour looks like. It's kind of on the peachy side, but at the same time, it's not too peachy. And I know I'm not the first one to talk about this blush. That would be kind of an understatement. If you haven't tried the Tower 28 blush formula before, it is highly pigmented, very balmy. It's a really good formula to use your fingers to just kind of melt it onto your cheeks. And Tower 28 is one of the most affordable brands at Sephora. They have some really, really fun colors, and I love this. Let's switch gears and talk about a powder blush and an affordable blush. So from Almay, I know I have mentioned this in several videos throughout the year, but I had to put this in my favorites. This is the Healthy Hue blush in the shade Nearly Nude. So this blush is a beautiful baked formula. I really find that I enjoy in powder blushes a nice baked formula like this. And I keep saying it, but I'm going to say it again. I think that this is like a very much a high-end formula. It's very, very thin. It has a beautiful kind of glow to it, but it's not glittery in any way. Let's see, where can I'll put it over here. Oh, so smooth too. So smooth. You will not have patchy blush when you wear this one. Look at the way it blends out. It's so beautiful. It is a neutral color, but has enough rosiness, or what is it, rosiness? Rosy peachiness to it so that it still looks like a blush, but this is one of those shades that could easily be like a bronzer type blush. Where you wear it for both blush and bronzer. So underrated and so good. One more blush, and then we can move on to something else. So this is from Kjaer Weiss. And I can say with confidence that this formula and this shade in particular were all because Amanda Z was talking about it. And now I can't stop talking about it. Ever since I got this, I could not stop putting this in my Shop My Stash. So I have the shade Inner Glow here in their cream blush formula. So it's a very, very different formula from other kind of pan cream blushes. Like these can be kind of more emollient, and I've heard some people describe them as sticky. I don't necessarily think they're sticky, like my hair doesn't stick to my face when wearing these, but you know, they could be described as sticky, I suppose. This is the complete opposite. It's not necessarily emollient, it's more melty. I am wearing this one today, and this shade Inner Glow is described as a taupe. And I can wear it as both kind of blush and bronzer again at the same time. This is one that I just love to pat in my skin and watch it melt in. It's just beautiful the way that it becomes one with your skin. If you're into a taupe blush, it's absolutely glorious. It's beautiful. It does have a little bit of luminosity going through it, but nothing glittery. And since Weiss can be a very expensive brand, I recommend buying these on sale and then also buying them in the refills. If you have any sort of a magnetic palette, you can put this in. When you buy it in their typical, very fancy metal heavy packaging, it makes these blushes outrageously expensive, so I do recommend buying the refill. Unless you want the metal packaging, I can understand that. It's very fancy. Okay, let's talk about lip products. This is the year I really got into lipsticks. Like, I used to just be a gloss girl. I was like, I do not need stick lipsticks. I kind of felt like that was a mature woman thing. But this year I really like them, and I have really found a kind of lipstick that I like. So I did try the classic Clinique Black Honey. I had to mention it in my favorites because I adore the shade and I really enjoy the formula. So if you have never tried this before or seen it before, it looks super, super dark in the tube, but it is a sheer balmy formula that's kind of a Your Lips But Better shade. This is exactly what I enjoy, and you'll see that in the rest of the favorites coming up. Something else I tried from Clinique, and I think I might like the formula of this even better. It's the Chubby Stick formula. So this is what they call the Moisturizing Lip Color Balm. I have a couple of different shades actually. I have a little mini of the shade Super Strawberry, which I will swatch for you. This is just a it's just a nice wearable pink. That's what that looks like. But my favorite is definitely this one in the shade Richer Raisin, which is fairly close, honestly, to Black Honey. Perhaps it's a little bit more brown. But I love how moisturizing it is. I love how you can just swipe it on real quick and not have to worry about wearing a lip liner or anything. This comes in oodles of shades. And I think if I wasn't so keen on trying other formulas, like this is the type of thing I would want in every single color. They have been out forever and they are great. Here's the other Merit product I have to mention to you guys. So they came out with these lipsticks, which, like I've told you before, I'm kind of like, at least I have been in the past when it comes to lipstick, and I think it's because I had tried a lot of thicker lipsticks and I really didn't like the feeling of it on my lips. Right now I'm thinking like the Bite Beauty lipsticks. I really didn't like those because I thought they were so thick and heavy. This is like the opposite of that. First of all, it comes with this very unique, beautiful packaging. I have the shade Slip, which normally I tend to be very, very careful when buying nudie shades like this. They do not always flatter me. In fact, quite the opposite. But this one has a beautiful sheer satin formula that I can work with. Oh my goodness, it is so beautiful. This is another formula I want all the shades in. That'll probably take me a really long time to do so just because I get distracted and I want to try all the new things as well. But this is a formula that's always in the back of my mind that I need more shades of this. It sits very lightweight on the skin. It doesn't feel like, or on the skin, on your lips. And they have some really good colors. Like it's not just pink. Not like pink is bad, but they just have some really fun ones. And the lipstick I'm wearing today. So I finally tried a Lisa Eldridge lipstick. So Lisa Eldridge, as we all know, is very pricey. So I agonized over picking a shade. It's not like I can go in store and swatch and look, but I ended up picking out the shade Painterly in the Luxuriously Lucent formula, which is her sheer formula. I have yet to try her matte lipstick formula, but I picked this one because it looked like it had a good amount of brown in it, which I know if a lipstick has kind of a brownie tone to it that I will often enjoy it, and I do. I really, really like it. Again, it's more of a balmy formula. I would say it has more pigment than any of these other products, but it's still a balmy lipstick. And I enjoy it to the point now where I'm just picking out other colors. Like, I really, really like it. It's not something I can go crazy buying because they are expensive, but I wouldn't mind having a few more shades. Oh, and it does have beautiful magnetic packaging. This year I was trying to use up glosses and I really held myself back from buying too many glosses this year. It was painful for me because I am such a gloss girl, but I did try one formula that I absolutely have to mention. So this is from Beauty Pie. Beauty Pie? This is the Wondergloss Collagen Lip Oil. So I'm not always into lip oils. I don't like it when they are too slippy and oily feeling. I'd like it when they lean more towards a liquid lip balm feeling or even more of a gloss feeling versus an oil. This is a liquid lip balm feeling. So I have the shade Nude Nectar is just a very easy to wear, mostly sheer nude shade. The scent, I just realized last night when going through these products, because I keep describing it as vanilla, but this is a very specific vanilla pudding scent. I was so happy when I finally nailed down what that was. Oh my goodness, it makes me so hungry for pudding. Don't eat the lip gloss. But the reason why this is so good, for one thing, if you are a Beauty Pie member, which I'm not, I bought this when they were running some sort of a deal where you could get like a day pass to shop at their member prices. So the member price for this, very, very inexpensive, but it feels very nourishing and kind of plushy on your lips. When you rub your lips together, it really feels luxurious. It feels like a Luxe formula. And I really do think that when it comes to gloss, anything that's like a liquid lip balm, that's my number one right now. Have we finally gotten to eyes? I believe so. I tried a lot of great things this year, but I really tried hard to narrow this down so that I'm not here talking for like 2 hours. I have to mention the Bodyography glitter pigment in the shade Celestial. This is a glitter that actually stays on my eyes. I do not get fallout with this like I do with ColourPop glitters. Oh my gosh. This kind of peachy color with kind of like a translucent base is the color I go for all the time. I know it, and yet I can't stop trying it in different formulas. I love this shade so much. So even though they're called glitter pigments, they are not big glitters. They are the very small micro glitters, the kind that give your eyes the most beautiful wet look, which I think I have a picture of myself wearing this. So if I can find it, I'll put it up on the screen. But this creates the most beautiful single shadow look. And I know that they have oodles of shades. And I picked up my shades during the 30% off sale that I feel like they're running quite often. Ooh, palettes. This was even harder to narrow down. For a while, I was like, I don't think I'm even gonna mention palettes because I could not pick favorites, but I think I have narrowed it down now to 3. So the first one that must be mentioned, I actually picked up at the end of 2021, but I hadn't used it enough to put it into my 2021 favorites. So I'm definitely going to mention it this year. So this is their original Identity palette. This palette, so gorgeous. If you're not into the micro glitters, these micro glitters are really popular right now, but I know not everyone likes them. If what you're after is a creamy metallic shade that still doesn't emphasize texture on your eyelids, but is an absolute dream to apply, you will love the shimmers in the Persona palette. They are so creamy and easy to work with. That's the shade right here called Seductive, by the way. Might be everyone's favorite shade in the palette. At least I know it is for me. But let me get some of the other shimmers. Very pigmented, so smooth. I really enjoy my look every single time I use this palette. And as for the mattes, they are very pigmented, but very easy to work with. I really appreciate that. I am not a master blender. Quite often I think my eyeshadow will be fine, and then I will film and go to edit it, and I'll see my eyeshadow, and I'm like, oh, man, everyone's so nice to me about my eyeshadow, because sometimes no one says anything, but sometimes I can tell it needed to be blended more. And when it comes to a formula like this, I can really trust it to look nice. I don't have to work hard in blending this. So I really appreciate this palette. It had to be mentioned this year. I finally tried Sydney Grace palettes this year, which in the past I've just stuck to singles and just kind of gazed admiringly at their palettes. Well, this year I finally took the plunge and I picked up a few of their palettes. This is the Enduring Love. And if you have been around since the very beginning in my channel, I think one of the very first videos I ever filmed was a palette wish list video, but it was palettes that I never ever thought I would let myself buy for whatever reason. Enduring Love was on that list. So it's been on my wish list for actual years at this point, and I finally got it. So this is what the Enduring Love palette from Sydney Grace looks like. It is mostly neutral with some very intense pops of color. If you've never tried Sydney Grace before, their pressed pigment formula is something else. If you just go right in with it, they are super intense, and you can get the most beautiful metallic look using their pressed pigments. But one thing that I've always loved about their pressed pigments is how they look when they're blended out. So I'm just gonna blend this out a little bit and you'll see this will go so far. These are so spreadable and so pigmented. Oh my goodness, I just love that. Every single time I do that with one of these Sydney Grace pressed pigments, I just can't handle it. It's so good. Okay, so you see it still has beautiful shine, but on your eyelid, it looks like a cream when you blend these out. So that's one of my favorite ways to wear some of the more intense shades in this palette. I think I have an eye look I still have on my phone somewhere that I'll try to share, and where I blended this very, very intense color called Elizabeth all over my eyelid, but in a very thin layer, and it looked like I was wearing the most beautiful, creamy, hydrating cream eyeshadow. This kind of center section of neutrals, very, very handy to pair with all of the gorgeous shimmers in this palette. Sydney Grace mattes are very pigmented, but again, very easy to work with if you just tap your brush in there and don't pick up too much. This is a very versatile palette. I'm happy to finally have it in my collection, and I was very happy to see that the quality of the shadows in this palette is the same as their single eyeshadows. Oh, I cannot get over how creamy that looks when it's blended out. It's so beautiful. Okay, this last one, you guys, really snuck in because when I tried it earlier this year, I was like, yep, it's nice, but kind of meh. Well, this just shows you how tastes can change throughout the year, because I wanted to reach for this all fall long, and now I'm just loving it so much. So I have to mention it, which makes me just kind of like, oh, because it's so expensive. But this is from Pat McGrath. This is the Divine Rose palette. It is the palette I'm wearing today, and I am wearing it in a very, very soft, very, very soft look from this palette. I am wearing the two mattes and this kind of champagne shade all over my lid, and then one of these special shades, the one that kind of flashes purple. I've got that in my inner corner. I've really come to appreciate this, obviously. I still don't think it's worth $128. I bought mine in a sale. Pat regularly puts her stuff on sale, so if you want one, wait for a sale. I wouldn't expect anyone to pay full price for these. In fact, right now, as I'm filming, I will check to see if it is still going on when I put this video up, but right now they're having the best sale I've ever seen of like 40% off, which is very good for these palettes. But as for why I find it so good, for one thing, the mattes, they kind of blend themselves. I was realizing that even more so today when I was putting on this very, very basic, simple eye look. This is a type of formula, again, where I don't really have to worry about it. It's pigmented enough that I just tap my brush in there, but they blend out so well that I have just been very impressed. These kind of satin shades, again, they lay so beautifully on the eyelid. If you're someone who doesn't like texture-enhancing eyeshadow, the satins are really beautiful. The thing that did really impress me right away with this palette was this very, very intense glitter shade down here. I'm just gonna put some on right now. This glitter, you know, I barely tap my finger in there. That's what it looks like. It is fantastic. But not only is it pretty, but it actually stays on my lid all day, which I have a problem with my favorite glittery shades always falling out all over my face. But I'm just gonna quick tap some of this on so you can see what. Oh my goodness, it's incredible. And like I say, I barely tap my finger in this shade. And that very, very basic look I just had has just been brought to the next level. So look, do you need Pat McGrath eyeshadow? No, but I couldn't be honest and not include this. Let's see, how could I say that without all the double negatives? I had to be honest and include this in my favorites. Oh my goodness, I have been filming for 42 minutes. That is absolutely crazy, but we have to talk about mascara because this past year, I tried some of the best mascaras I have ever tried in my life. It was an amazing mascara year for me. So I have 3 really good products to talk about. The first one is the one that I'm wearing today, and this one has gotten a lot of hype and it is well deserved. It's the Tower 28 mascara. So the wand is like one of the kind of more spiky silicone wands. It is very flexible. So here's the reasons why it's so good. For one thing, I really like the volume it gives me. I like a very dramatic lash, but this is one of those that one swipe through and it looks good. You can continue to build it and it's not going to get clumpy. You know how sometimes with other mascaras, you don't necessarily want to put on more mascara, but you're just kind of fixing the way the lashes are laying and stuff, and it continues to lay down mascara, and you just can't spend too much time working with it because it makes your lashes look so clumpy and bad, and you have to go back in with a lash comb. Anyway, sometimes it's just a thing with mascara. This one you can work with and build, and it's not going to get clumpy. Or at least it hasn't for me. I have really loved that part about it. I can sit there and fiddle with the lashes and get it exactly how I want. And even though it's not a waterproof mascara and it's not a tubing mascara, I find it does wear very well on me. I've been just super, super impressed with this one. One, the on my lashes looks very similar to the Tower 28, but it has a completely different brush and formula. It's from Cali. So this has kind of your classic brush wand, and I actually get a very similar look, the Tower 28 one. one with the one from Cali Ray. Very lifted, voluminous, and lengthened, and separated, which I really appreciate. A mascara that separates my lashes. I hate when you end up with like 3 clumps of eyelashes. I love that you can buy this in a mini, and I love that it's tubing. It means that it doesn't smudge. For me, that worked gorgeously, just beautiful. This is one I can count on to not smudge all over my face. And even though it's a tubing mascara, I do have to take a little bit of extra time removing this at the end of the night. For whatever reason, it just wants to take its time releasing from my lashes. When it finally does, it comes right off. I just have to really like just stand there with like a warm washcloth and let it sit in my eyes, which, you know, it's not a bad thing. That's kind of nice to do too as well. One I've never heard anyone talk about ever. So this was an insane surprise. It's from Clarins. I didn't even know Clarins had a mascara, but this is their Wonder Perfect Mascara 4D. So I just got a sample of this from a friend. And again, it has kind of a classic brush on it, but this gave me the most intensely lengthened dramatic eyelashes. I looked like I was wearing false eyelashes. This was absolutely wild. Unfortunately, this is kind of a more spendy mascara. I don't think I would spend full price on it just because I have other ones that are not as expensive that I also really, really love. But if I could find this in a mini again, I would wear it again. I thought it was fantastic. Again, it did not smudge or flake. I loved all 3 so much. Oh my goodness. We have reached the end of my favorites. If you made it all the way through this video, thank you so much for staying and watching the entire thing. Please let me and everyone else who's reading the comments know down below, what were your favorites this year? I love favorites videos, and I love finding out what your guys' favorites are. I have found some really good products out from you guys. So yeah, don't leave me hanging. Let me know what your favorites were. I hope that you guys all have an absolutely wonderful day. I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye.